So when we factor when a is greater than 1, that means this letter right here, right, is bigger than 1. So that means we divided it. The GCF, there is no GCF, so I know that a is going to be what here? What's my a? 2, right? So write that down. A equals 2. Jordan, what does b equal? Negative 11. And Gabby, what does c equal? Beautiful. So same thing we did last time. And you guys can write this in the middle because it's the same steps. The first step is exactly the same for both methods. I'm teaching you the box method, which is basically the opposite of when we multiply polynomials. It's the opposite of that. So if you're more of a visual learner, you may like that better. Reducing is kind of one of those shortcut methods, but it also, a lot of people make mistakes on them. It's easier, but it's easier to make mistakes. So whichever method you want to use, you can use. So then we do our ACB. So it looks like this. And what is A times C? What is 2 times 12? 24, right? And what is our B? What are we adding to? Negative 11, right? So I know if I'm multiplying to a positive, both signs have to be the same. That doesn't matter if they're negative or positive. But if I'm adding to a negative, what are both the signs going to be? Negative, right? Now, what numbers multiply to 24? Who can raise their hand? Tell me 2 of them. TJ. 12 and 2. Who can give me another one? 6 and 4. Who can give me another one?
3 and 8.
3 and 8. Another one. One more. 20, 24 and 1, right? Which one of those adds to 11? Negative 3 and negative 8 would make negative 11. So, ding, 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 we have our factors, right? Negative 3 and negative 8. So that step is the same. So that's the one step that they share. No matter what, we still have to go through this process. But when A is bigger than 1, we automatically have 4 steps. And so I'll show you the box method first. So it looks something like this. So normally when we did the box method, right, it was like this, and we multiplied to get the answer. Now we're going to have the answers inside the box, and we're trying to get the numbers outside of it. So the first one I put in the first box, I put my first term, which my first term here is what? 2x squared, right? I'm going to put that right there, which is this. What is your last term? Positive 12. I'm going to put that right there. Now, instead of negative 11, I'm splitting it up between these two, negative 8 and negative 3. So I'm putting negative 8x and negative 3x. So it looks something like that. Is everyone with me so far? So make sure you're putting this down. This is going in your notebook. So remember, we have a bunch of units, and at the end of in May, it's going to be your milestone. So maybe you understand it now without writing this down, but you may not understand it when we're going over 7 units and reviewing. Now we just take the greatest common factor of each row and each column. So I'm going to start with this one right here. What letter do they both have? X, right? And 1 is their only greatest common factor, the numbers, right? You don't have to put 1. You can if you want, but we can just leave it. Their greatest common factor is X. What about right here? What's their greatest common factor of 8 and 12? 4, right? Now let's go the other way. What's the greatest common factor of 2 and 8? And what letters do they also have? And what's the greatest common factor of these two? 3, and we'll get to the negative in a second. Now we can check our root, right? So what's x times 2x? 2x squared. 4 times 2x, is that negative 8x? No, so what should we put by the 4? A negative, right? Now it's negative 8x. X times 3, what do you think we're going to have to put by the 3? Negative. And then negative 3 times negative 4, does that get me a positive 12?
Yes.
Yep. So my answers are just x minus 4, like that, and then 2x minus 3. Because it's negative 3 and negative 4. And that's my answer. That's the first way to do it. So if you're more of a visual learner, as opposed to like shortcuts in the shortest way, use this. It's more likely to get you the right answer and help you check it. This is shorter, but it can definitely make more mistakes. So the second way is I write these as factors, just like I would if A was 1. So I do x minus 3 and x minus 8, right? I'm using these two right here. Now, does x times x equal 2x squared if I were to check my work? What's x times x? X squared, right? So it wouldn't get me the right answer. So what I do is I take my a, which is what? 2, and I put it under both of these. And then I reduce. Now, doesn't that sometimes it will be dividing, but you reduce. So like say the fraction, say I had something like this, x minus 4 over 6. Could I reduce that fraction? What could it reduce to? 2/3. So right now we don't have that, but usually you would reduce the fraction. But first, can this fraction reduce 3 over 2? No, so what happens is this 2 comes and joins the x, and it becomes 2x minus 3. Can this reduce 8 divided by 2? What do you get? 4. And so you can see we have the same answers, just 2 different ways of doing it. But a lot of people are forgetting about the A. And this answer in the black will 110% be an answer choice under milestone. They'll expect you to mess this up. So just make sure you're practicing putting that A underneath that. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we're going to do some practice problems. If you look in your pink, if some of you guys have pink, some of you guys have white. It's this right here, this factoring polynomials right here. We're going to do the third one. So it says, it's example 9, and it looks something like this. So example 9, it's 3y squared plus 4y minus 15. And if you don't have your book or you left it at home or whatsoever, you can just write it on a piece of paper and just transfer it later. Yeah, I'm going to staple it at the end of the day. All right, so Kirsten, what's my A here? 3. Jordan, what's my B? 4. And Kaylin, what's my C? Beautiful, negative 15. Then I make my X. And what is 3 times negative 15? Good, negative 45. If I'm multiplying to a negative, that means the signs have to be different, right? So I'm going to have one positive and one negative answer to multiply to a negative. But I'm adding to what? 4. So I know if I'm adding to a positive number, that means whatever my factor is, the bigger one will be positive. So let's just look at negative 45. That means I'm looking at what 2 numbers subtract to make 4 now. So what are the numbers that multiply to 45? 9 and 5, and 9 minus 5 is 4, right? Which one's bigger, 9 or 5? And so 9 minus 5 would be positive 4. So those would be my 2 factors. Just so I can see, how many people are doing box methods? How many people are doing it the quicker way? Okay, so I'll do it both just so you guys can see. So the box method would look something like this. And so my 3y squared goes in first because that's my first term. The negative 15 goes in last because that's my last term. And I'm going to use positive 9y and negative 4y. Doesn't matter, or sorry, negative 5y. It doesn't matter what order you put it in for these two. Then I find the GCF. So what's the GCF of this first row right here? What's the only thing they have in common? Just one y, right? And then what's the GCF of 9 and 15? 3. Then we go this way. What's the GCF of this one right here? 3, and what do they also have? Y. And then what about here? 5. And see how they're both negative? That will be a negative 5. Or you can figure it out when you multiply and check your work. So my answer here would be y plus 3, 3y minus 5. That's a box. Then if you do it the other way, you do x plus 9. I'm using x, it's okay. X minus 5 And then what number am I putting under both of them? 3. You don't need to break both of these down. Just pick which one you like. What's 9 divided by 3? And then what happens with this 3?
Goes over to X.
It goes and hangs out with X, right? And that would be my answer. Same thing, I use different variables, but same answer, 2 different ways. You don't need to know both, but this way will always get you the right answer. Usually it's less likely to make mistakes. This one, a lot of people forget to put that A on the page. Does that make sense? Okay, why don't you guys try the next one on your own? Example 10. And then I'm going to go over the next one with you. So example 10 is, example 10 is 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. See if you can try that out. And I'll give you a stamp. Once you get it, raise your hand, and I'll stamp. Good. So I need to make A positive, so I need to divide by -1. It just changes all my signs. This is like dividing out a greatest common factor. But the difference is when that A is negative, I can't factor like that. So I'm going to just change all the signs. Now, put that, if you divide something out, make sure it's going to go on the outside of your answer. So maybe put your answer down below, and you know that -1 will be out there. Just like if you were to divide by 2, 2 would go right here. Then I factor. So what's a -5 divided by -1? What does it do to the sign?
Makes it positive.
Makes it positive, right? And this will be what? Negative, and this will be positive, right? Cross this out so it doesn't confuse you now, because this is your new A, B, and C. We already told ourselves we divided that -1. So our A is what? 5, our B is -6, and our C is 1. And so we still do the same exact thing. The only difference here was that when I divide something out, or if there's a GCF or something like that, we always put that number right here in the front. Just like behind Zairia's head, if you can look back there, that was from the mini quiz yesterday or last class. You guys could see if you divide 3 out of all 3 things, that number goes in the front. Same thing here. Since I divided -1, that number always goes in the front of my answer. So what is 5 times 1? What's A times C? 5. So we're multiplying the 5 and adding to B, which is what? -6. So since this is positive, they know the signs have to be the same, right? Are they going to both be negative or both be positive? Good. And so what 2 numbers multiply to 5 and add to 6?
-1.
-1 and -6. -1 and -6, and also -3 and -2. Sorry, I am messing up, aren't I? We're multiplying to 5. I was looking down at the -6. What multiplies to 5? -1 and -5. Because what's -1 plus -5? -6. So those are going to be my 2 factors. Cool. Now I'm going to do it the shortcut way this time, just to save some time. So I would do x, or m, -5, and m -1. What's my GCF? Or what's my A? I'm sorry. 5, right? So I would take that A, because m times m would not get me that 5, and I put that 5 underneath them. Then I reduce the fractions. Can I reduce 5 over 5? What do I get? And what about this one? What happens with that 5?
It goes over to the X.
Perfect. And that would be my answer. Okay, before you try that last example, I'm going to go over one more with you before you have your choice. That's all the lesson is for today. So I'm going to be going over, it's on the yellow worksheet. If you go on I'm going to give you one. So just write it at the bottom. So it looks like this, 4n squared minus 8n plus 3.
The bottom of the other thing.
cross out number 3 and just put this one. 4n squared, I just switched the A and the C because I just want to show you something real quick. So for number 3, you already did it, it's fine. Just put this somewhere. I just want to show you something real quick. And I just want to show you how you would reduce the fractions if they could be reduced. So, what is my A here? 4, my B, -8, and my C, 3. And I do my ACB, right? What is 4 times 3? We're multiplying the 12 and adding to -8. What two numbers multiply to 12 and add to -8? -6 and -2. Ding, ding, ding. They're both negative because I'm adding to a negative. So then I would go like this. N minus 6 if you're doing the shortcut way, and N minus 2. What number am I putting under both of them? 4. Now, this is where people ran into problems. See how 6 over 4, can that fraction be reduced? What can we divide evenly to both those numbers? Good. So we would divide 2 to get 3 over 2, right? So let's rewrite this. Instead of n minus 6 over 4, we're going to write it n minus 3 over 2. It was just minus negative. It's the same thing. Then over here, what can I reduce 2 over 4 to? 1/2, right? Because I could divide by 2 and get 1/2. And I get n minus 1/2. Now you would bring, so can I reduce it anymore? The 2's? Nope. So I would bring them to look like this. Because if I just brought the 4's out, and these were 4's, what's 4 times 4? 16, right? But our A isn't 16, what is it? 4. And that's why you need to make sure, I just want to show you this just in case, because it will be in your IXL. Just make sure you reduce the fraction if it can be reduced. Does that make sense? Okay, so what you're going to do is you have 50 minutes to do you can choose what you want to do. So I'll let you work on AA5 if you want to do that. If you want to just work on, it's just a drill and kill. It's literally this. If you want to do a maze, you can do that. And remember, stamps are getting checked next class or next week. So the more stamps you get, the better. The drill and kill worksheet, the yellow worksheet in front of you, or there's a puzzle you can work on with a friend. Any of those 4 you guys can do, and then after at 50, we'll come back together and you can take your mini quiz. So how many people are doing IXL? Raise your hand. How many people are doing drill and kill worksheet? How many people are doing the puzzle? Maze? Okay, so those 2 you're going to choose? Okay, so you guys can get started. If you guys need your computer, just head out there. I'll open the card up. And then I'm going to take a small group. If you guys maybe just want to go over a few problems with me, we'll go over a few, and then you guys can work on the IXL.